So, straight coming to the first question, Gaurav, how do you acquire a B2B client?
Right. So I think it's very, very important first for people to understand, what their target market will be, and who they intend to go after. Like I remember our first account was Maruti, and it
Maruti
happened.
Suzuki.
That's right.
And which year we are talking about?
We go back to 1999. So it was Auto Expo 2000 was coming. Auto Expo will be coming up again shortly. So it was the Auto Expo, and I remember they reached out to us for making some jigsaw puzzles. And of course, we did that particular order. It went really well. But as soon as we got Maruti, we're like, now that we have Maruti behind us, we'll go after every auto company.
So now you're saying is that, catching the first MNC clients is difficult, but after that, you can acquire more clients easily?
Yeah, I mean, it's also a combination of luck.
Welcome to MSME Business Growth series. Hi guys, I'm Kewal Kishan, India's leading business automation coach. And in this knowledge series, I am bringing the best experts from country to help you grow your business. And today we have Gaurav Bhagat with us, who is legend when it comes to sales. He has a gifting company, and I think it will be coming in top 10 gifting companies in India, or maybe bigger than that. He runs a coaching agency as well, where he's training business owners on how can they grow their sales. Today in this interview series, let us know on how can you also grow your business, whether you are a manufacturer or a trader or a service provider. And he will be sharing what all mistakes which people make while selling and how can you grow your sales. So welcome, Gaurav.
Thank you, Kewal, for having me here. And it is an honor and a pleasure to be on your inaugural show. So thank you so much, and it means a lot for you to have me here.
So Gaurav, can you tell the viewers on what all businesses are you running as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So like you mentioned, the journey began with Consortium Gifts, which is pretty much still there and is one of India's most respected companies in the space of gifting and promotional premiums. And of course, there is also the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, which is 10xing the lives of so many and more. So Grant Cardone licensee for India, and I coach and train and mentor and consult companies in the areas of sales and scaling. So 10xing organizations the Grant Cardone way with my own twist is what I do.
Awesome. So Gaurav, when it comes to the gifting business, I should call it a B2B business. Am I right?
Primarily, I mean, we have two verticals over there as well. So we have the B2B space, and primarily most of our companies are B2B, large corporates, India and abroad. But we also have something called the company brand store. And then the company brand store, it's almost like an Amazon, but it's being set up, for organizations and employees within organizations. So it's a B2B structure, but it's also got a B2C interface within it as
awesome.
well.
Great, guys. Great, Gaurav. I want to know, before I ask some core questions around sales, can you tell us what are your few top clients which you have worked with till now?
So, of course, today we're shooting this episode in Gurgaon, and I tell people that if you walk into a building in Gurgaon, any building, there's a good chance that we have at least 6 clients in every building.
Awesome.
So, be it the cyber cities and the cyber parks and the Unitex and all of that. So, very large, footprint of companies. Like I said, I've been in this space for a long time. It's a company that I started as a 19-year-old, and that means now it's almost 26, 27 years in business. So there's Coke, there's all the consulting guys, so the EYs, Deloittes, KPMGs, PwCs, BMW, Maruti. Like I said, it's so vast that
so
it's maybe 400
kind of
companies.
Top MNCs like BMW and Coke and Big Four. Guys, it will be really interesting to know on how did he crack all these big B2B clients. So straight coming to the first question, Gaurav, how do you acquire a B2B client?
Right. So I think it's very, very important first for people to understand, what their target market will be, and who they intend to go after. Like I remember our first account was Maruti, and it happened.
Maruti Suzuki.
That's right.
And which year we are talking about?
We go back to 1999. So it was Auto Expo 2000 was coming. Auto Expo will be coming up again shortly. So it was the Auto Expo, and I remember they reached out to us for making some jigsaw puzzles. And of course, we did that particular order. It went really well. But as soon as we got Maruti, we're like, now that we have Maruti behind us, we'll go after every auto company.
So now you're saying is that, catching the first MNC clients is difficult, but after that, you can acquire more clients easily?
Yeah, I mean, it's also a combination of luck, Interestingly, what was happening is when I was a 16-year-old guy still in school, I started doing board games. I made the stock market game. I made the first pack of WWF trump cards ever. And I used to have a small ad, which is maybe about that size, in something called the Tata Press Yellow Pages. People won't even know what the Yellow Pages are anymore, but there was a time when Yellow Pages was very sought after. And Devipriya Dam, who was working at Lintas, opened that Yellow Pages because Madhusudan, who was at Maruti, asked him to get in someone who would do board games and slash jigsaw puzzles. So he saw that ad, and that got me into Maruti's office. And Madhu said that, dude, I have this opportunity, take it or leave it. And I said, I need advances. He said, there's nothing coming your way. But just luck. The page opened, my name popped up, Dam called me, Madhu called me. Madhusudan is still a close friend. And that changed everything.
Awesome. I'll tell you, my first client was Panasonic.
I remember
So
that.
I think we have this common, that first client was directly MNC. So you said you acquired Maruti as the first client, but after that, like nowadays, what is your strategy or your sales team strategy when you like, do you do prospecting on LinkedIn or Facebook, or do you do cold calling? What are the methods that you use to acquire a B2B client? And if you can share a few tips on that.
Of course. So prospecting, it has to be a 360-degree approach. Like, when we go to a financial planner, and a financial planner will say, never put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
I mean, we had these people who would, only believe in fixed deposits or recurring deposits, or, some guys were only doing crypto or the stock market. You have to diversify your investments. Similarly, when it comes to sales and sales prospecting, you have to do everything. Like, even if you're doing social media, you can't only be saying, oh, you know what, I'm a LinkedIn guy, so I only do LinkedIn. You have to do Insta. Okay, one of the people who I got on my podcast was Nikhil Kamath. And Nikhil Kamath is the founder of Zerodha. And the reason why he came on the podcast is because we connected on Instagram, right? Who would have thought? There was a time when Grant Cardone was using Clubhouse extensively. And, I just sent him a message one day on Clubhouse. It was a DM. And he said, sure, man, line it up with my EA and let's do a podcast together.
Awesome.
So the point is that even when you come in using social media, it can't only be one platform. You have to go 360-degree approach over there as well. Then along with social media, you have to do getting in front of people. I mean, today we're recording a podcast face to face when a lot of people are still doing them, behind the screens on Zoom. It's not the same thing. So hence, getting in front of people, okay, picking up the phone and calling. People are very uncomfortable. They're like, bhai, ye to humse nahi hoga. But I tell them that you have to get out of your comfort zone. Okay, and if you're not going to do it, you need to have someone on your team who's going to be making those calls. But to avoid the phone altogether, you're doing yourself a big disservice.
So what you're saying is that the conversation on the phone or a physical meeting is way better than just chatting with people or sending them the email, because the personal connect, that is where you'll be able to build the relationship with the prospect and then make them a client.
For sure. So email plays its own role as well. And email is great because what happens with email is you own the database. All right, and it's your connect with that particular person. Now, what happened in the past is when the algorithm of Facebook changed, right? When Apple came out with the new privacy settings, all of a sudden engagement on Facebook just died. The quality of leads coming and everything else just went totally down. So email, you still had access to the direct person. So your email database is pure gold. I remember I met Ryan Dice in Las Vegas a few years ago. It was a Grant Cardone event, and he said the most crucial and critical thing is your email database. Yeah. He said never ever disregard that. So like I said, 360-degree approach. Like you have your money in different assets, you have to have prospecting happen in different areas, and hence all of these matter. So of course nothing beats face to face. I remember one of my students had come to the GBA and he told me, GB, iMail always beats email, and iMail would be two people sitting across each other having that conversation. He said always beats email, but that said, you can't disregard email either.
So it's a combination of technology as well as the contact that you make with people and you take the requirements.
100% better, and no one better to know technology than you, but yes.
Thank you. Gaurav, talking about sales, it comes down to number of clients. Can you tell us how many total clients you have served till now?
Oh, like a crazy amount. So again, at different organizations, different number. In consortium, active clients would be probably at about 400, 450.
Total 450 B2B clients. Guys, is it a small number or is it a big number?
Yeah, so the thing is that we have a big team. Our sales team is 14 people. The organization overall has close to 100 now. And it just gets bigger and better with each passing week. We've just had a record year in terms of numbers. And at the GBA, even though I've been in this space for about 4 years in terms of sales training and coaching, we've had more than 1,000 people go through the physical offline programs, and I've even lost count on the online because it's just been like thousands. So yeah, it's been great.
So I also have recently built up my entire sales team. We are a total 5 people right now. I've also learned on how to hire the right sales representatives and how do you train them. But you have been doing all this past many years. So how do you hire a sales executive? If you can share some light on that.
Of course.
What platform do you use?
Yeah.
What questions do you ask?
Of course.
How do you negotiate with them on the salary? Just tell us everything about hiring.
Great. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that SME entrepreneurs make is that they don't hire or they don't hire quick enough, right? Some of them think of it as an expense. The first thing I'd like to tell the audience is never think of hiring as an expense, always think of it as an investment. And it's something that's going to pay off. You can't be doing everything yourself, especially not sales, right? So we have a 7-step process that we normally teach at our programs, and I'm of course happy to share that here with your viewers and listeners as well. The first thing is be very specific in terms of what you want. Right, so the JD that's going to be created, and I create, and I write down 3 columns in that. So I say one is the essentials, okay, which are the non-negotiables, and those have to be there. The second is the desirables, okay, and the third is the bonus. And when I create these 3 columns and I put everything down, in that, and I send it to, it could be recruitment agencies, it could be, apps such as HireAct, etc. I mean, I've had sometimes, recruitment agencies come back and say that, yeah, tu ye dekh raha hai ke Iron Man. Right, so they get kind of overwhelmed. But the point is, when you ask for everything, at least you will get the things that you really desire. So that's been my approach there.
Gaurav, जहाँ पे हम बात करते हैं essential and desires की, desirable requirements की, so can we say like essential should be like they should know some technical tools, they have at least 1 year of experience, they should know how to write a good email. So can you give examples of essentials and desirables?
So some of the things, so let's say if you're hiring for sales now, some of the essentials, obviously one of the most important things, though it's sometimes people say not very tangible and you'll only come to know with due course, is attitude. So I always hire for attitude first, and I think everything else can be taught. Of course, there will be things like communication skills. We only have multinational companies, or 85 to 95% of my clients are MNCs. So if someone can't, speak English, or if someone can't, put the thoughts down on mail or even on WhatsApp and all of that, obviously it's not going to work. Right. So communication skills is very important. I think someone who is open to learning is extremely important as well. Because if someone comes in and says, oh, I have X number of years of experience and I know everything, now that straight away is a red flag. So obviously these are some of the things we put down over there. The second step, so the first step is obviously having everything in place. The second step is actually floating that JD out, and that would happen on platforms such as Naukri or HireAct, or even through recruitment companies.
LinkedIn as well.
Of course, LinkedIn is very powerful. Your own social media platforms is very powerful. Today you'll see people who will come on and say, hey, listen, I'm hiring, create a video, like we're doing a video right now, create a video, say, you know what, hey, I'm looking for great people on my team. If you're the one for me, send me a 30-second video, ask for a video from them as well, where you say, send me a 30-second or 60-second video saying who you are, what you do, and why we should hire you. So what happens is on video, you get to see a lot of, the things and the characteristics that you're seeing or looking for. Now, a lot of these people are going to be representing your company. So if they don't have presence on video or in person, then do you really want them representing your company?
So you talked about HireAct, LinkedIn. I also tried in 2022 this one hack. I said my team can also refer me to good people. So I created a bonus structure within the organization. I created a hiring form I added to my intranet. I told my team that bring me the best people. If they get hired, I'm going to give you an extra bonus along with the salary.
Why not?
And 50% of the employees that I hired in 2022 were hired just by referrals.
Lovely.
And I saved my cost on HR agencies. And the best part, I got the best people, because my employees, they knew that if they will refer to somebody, they want to refer the best.
Great.
Because eventually, that person is going to be with us, and his or her energy is going to impact the entire team. So my question is this. Now, like for example, there is a manufacturer who is, for example, manufacturing this cup, or there is a retailer, there is a trader, any business owner who is specifically looking for B2B clients.
Right.
Like he hires first sales executive. Okay. Now the business owner is good at closing the client. He's very confident going to meeting and closing it. Sure. But when he's hiring the first sales executive, what should be the steps which that sales executive should follow, or the business owner should guide to that executive so that the first client is in through that executive rather than the owner? Could you throw some light on it? I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the executive who comes on board will most likely not be a closer initially in any case.
Achha. So he will not be closing the client, he'll be just initiating the discussion.
So what would almost happen, like think about it like a game of volleyball, right? So in the game of volleyball, there is someone who sets up the ball and there's someone else who comes and smashes it. So initially some of these guys might actually just be people who are out there digging out the ball, okay, so digging out the lead, creating it, setting up the ball, and then the key people, it could be a senior manager within the team or the primary owner himself who comes in and smashes it and closes the deal. So maybe it's okay to think about it from that perspective as well, because initially
this is the crazy perspective. I think this is an eye-opening statement that you have given. So guys, if you're a business owner, if you want to hire people, do not think that they are going to convert the client. Just take their help to generate the new inquiries, because once they generate the new inquiry, 50% of the effort is just taken by them, and then you go for the meeting and close the client. So great point, Gaurav, here.
Yeah, thank you. And in due course, all of these guys and girls, will again, themselves, develop into closers and all of that. Also just know that closing is a very specific skill set which not everyone would actually have. So you'll have some people who will actually be in sales, but they'll actually be in the support side of things. They'll just be nurturing those relationships, because you need people to close, but you need people to nurture, and you need people to also, kind of follow up. So all of these are different, roles. We use psychometric testing very extensively. So one of the steps that we use in hiring is a psychometric test like DISC. That's DISC.
So you were even talking about the steps of hiring before we actually jump to the next question. So if you can complete those steps.
Right, of course. So number one is, of course, create the position. Number two is actually float it. Number three is ask for a video. Okay, don't look at resumes and all of that. Ask for videos, once your application's coming in. And sometimes people will not be confident enough to send you that video.
Then what should we do?
So then what you do is someone in the organization, either HR or an EA or someone, calls them in saying, you're selected and the next round is going to happen. But that next round in the office will actually have a camera set up saying that it's great that you're here, you're selected, but your conversation is not going to move forward until you actually record a video. Now the fact is, think someone has come from Gurgaon to Noida, from Noida to Delhi, or from Delhi to Gurgaon, whatever. He says, chalo itni dur aa gaya hu to chal bana hi leta hu yaar. Because think about it, if at this point also someone is not giving you a video, do you really want that person to be on your team? Absolutely not, right? So step number four is actually then, getting that video, taking a look at that video. And what happens after that is we actually send them a psychometric assessment, which is DISC. Now DISC will tell you very clearly, okay, what is the key characteristic of this person? Is this person even suitable for the role that you're actually thinking? So that actually becomes the next step. Finally, we then have them sit in front of us and we give them a selling situation. Like you may have seen that movie Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
right?
This pen.
Absolutely. So people say cliched question, but the point is that it is a question which is so powerful. Let's just say take out a pen, you give it to them and say, sell me this pen. Now, if this person starts straight away talking about how nice it is, how comfortable it is, how beautiful it is, how nicely it rides, how cost effective it is, now you know that, dude, this is bullshit. Where's the fact finding, right? Did you even
not ask the questions?
Exactly. Did you ask whether I even use a pen? Or today am I now on an Apple tablet, using an Apple pencil, like an iPad or a Samsung tab? So the point is that you must fact find. Okay, and if you fact find and then sell, now you know this person is worth what he says he is. And then we take a look at the resume. So resume is actually step 6, and most people have it as step 2 or 2.5, somewhere between 2 and 3.
So 6 steps that you talked about, we are following 4 of them, but from now on I'm going to include these 2 steps, especially the video that I've talked about. And you're right that if somebody is not confident to record their own introduction video, how will they talk to a client who if by chance get angry, they will not be able to talk to the next client with confidence. And I feel that sales is not just about talking or listening. It's the voice. When you talk, the confidence, the attitude, the conviction. The other person knows that, are you the right person to go for or not? Do you agree on this?
Oh, absolutely. And I always tell my team, I said, bring people on with the right attitude. Everything else can be taught to them. I mean, on our team, we had certain youngsters who came on. They had just finished college. They had a year or 2 experience. And everyone said, ye kya bechenge, kya hoga inka? I'm like, attitude theek hai inka. I said, aage dekhna. And there was a time when I was like the top salesman in the consortium team. Today I'm probably a number 5. Okay, because you've got these guys who are absolutely crushing it.
So if I may ask the number, like, who is the highest sales teammate in your team, and how much does he make for the company every month?
So we've been averaging between 7 to 9 crores a month now in terms of top line. We are heading towards a company that will possibly get up to maybe I think 63 to 65 crores this year. Heading towards 100 crores, next year. That really is the goal. And our top guys are now all at an average doing 1 crore plus
per month.
And they're getting up to even 2.5. We just recently had a closure with a big consulting company. I won't name the company, But 37,000 employees, 1,200 rupees per piece, do the math.
And before you hired these people, what was the sale of the company?
So when it started, it was just me, right? So I was like the, whole first sales guy. And I think for the longest time, we stuck around that, 1.5, 2 crores
Per year or per month?
per year. Because,
So,
yeah.
guys, that's a fact. If you're right now struggling, crying, sales नहीं बढ़ रही है, customers नहीं आ रहे हैं, think twice. Because you have a limited energy. You have got 6-7 hours, and you need to manage your team, your clients, your family. And if you're stuck at a revenue of 1 to 2 CR for many years, there might be many reasons, but there are top 2 reasons. First is you are not marketing yourself. Second is you do not have the right team who can talk to the clients and convert. And third is always you don't have the right systems and automation. So as Gaurav said, that invest in your team, hire them, because it might take them 2 to 3 months before they become good at selling. But once they become good at selling, even if they bring 20% sales, then what you are doing, it's an additional bonus. So the ROI will be easily coming from their salary. So it's a no-brainer. Year 2023 is on. My recommendation and Gaurav's guidance will be that hire at least 1 to 2 sales executives if you do not have any. And if you're already having a sales team, it's time for you to double it, because that's how you will double your sales.
Absolutely agree. And always be hiring. Never ever think that, okay, I have enough people and now we're fine. Always be hiring, because what's going to happen is that there will be some churn. Okay, there will be some people, who may need to move out for whatever reason. I mean, it could be because of, internal, external factors or whatever. Always be hiring. Always have extra people on your team.
Great. So Gaurav, we all hear that there are different sales strategy when it comes to B2B and B2C. So what is your take on this?
Kewal, super question. And before which I'd like to tell all our listeners and viewers that know this, it could be B2B, it could be B2C, it could be B2G, it could be D2C. So there's a whole bunch of, nomenclature that's really there. But behind each of these, stakeholders or organizations is always a person.
Absolutely.
So hence what I recommend to people is focus on the H to H. Okay, which is the human to human.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Great.
Right? Because in the fact is that even if there is, in the B2B space, I talk about something called the S.N.I.D.E theory. And I'll come to the S.N.I.D theory in just a second. But just know that even behind each of those stakeholders is a human. So make that connect. Okay, Grant Cardone would always say the difference between a contact and a contract, okay, is the letter R. Write down these 2 words. Write down C-O-N-T-A-C-T. Write down C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T.
Contact and contract. So yeah, R letter, yeah.
And that R stands for relationships. So focus on the relationships. Selling today is not about product or service. Selling is about people. Okay. Selling today is 80% about people, 20% about product or service. So it's called the 80-20 rule of relationships. So I think if people focus on that, they'll find that they're doing a lot better. Coming down to the B2B space, there is something called the S.N.I.D.E theory. Now, what is the S.N.I.D.E theory is that in the B2B space, you have multiple stakeholders. B2C, you have one stakeholder. Okay, it's Kewal selling to Gaurav, Gaurav selling to Kewal, normally, right? In a B2B situation, now we have multiple stakeholders. In any organization, it could be maybe as few as 2, it could be as many as 20. But I categorize these people into 5 different buckets. Okay, and we call it the S.N.I.D.E theory. The S.N.I.D.E theory is something that I came up with a few years ago. Wow. The S is the seeker. Okay.
Seeker. Okay.
And the seeker is a person who seeked you out. Could be based on an ad they saw, could have come to your web page, or saw something and hence or asked someone and said, hey, Kewal's a great guy. So the S is the seeker. Okay, the N is actually the negotiator. Okay, and we'll come back to the negotiator in a bit, but someone who's going to say, hey, you know what, I'm the one calling the shots and I'm the person, but they're not. Their job was to basically get the best deal for their organization. The I is the influencer. Okay, who will basically either positively or negatively influence your case within that organization.
Awesome.
Right? The D is the decision maker, the person who's going to finally be signing the checks, okay, and is potentially the ultimate authority and someone you may not even reach. And the E is the enjoyer, also the end user, right? So it's possible that someone in, for example, the marketing team had a requirement for a collateral by virtue of which they called out consortium in the first place. But there is the S.N.I.D.E and then there's the E. In fact, the E could also be the end user who will be getting the collateral that's given out, okay, who is nowhere even within the organization. So the S.N.I.D.E theory is very powerful, and I recommend to people is that you should explore when you go into the B2B space if the S.N.I.D.E theory actually applies and how many of those stakeholders can you actually involve in your pitch. That will be very, very impactful actually.
Awesome. It was a great piece of advice, the S.N.I.D.E theory, Gaurav. So when I talk about B2B, every business owner who is a who's selling a product to any company, the ticket size is always good. So can we know what is your average ticket size when it comes to the consortium gifts?
Right. So I'll give you for both businesses. So now when consortium normally closes the deal, it could be, anywhere from between 4 lakhs to 15 lakhs. So I'd say average would probably be around 10 to 12 lakhs. That's an average size deal. At the GBA, now when we come in for consulting for a sales organization, that could range anywhere from 10 to 20 lakhs. Maybe so we take an average of about 15. When we come in with one of our signature programs like the 10x sales, for example, so that's somewhere where it's almost like a give back, where we charge only 15,000 rupees for a seat for 2 days of training.
Awesome.
So it could go from 15,000 to 15 lakhs. But again, B2C versus,
So B2C is all
B2B.
about, selling small products with small, value in terms of the rupees or any like other currency. But when it comes to B2B, ticket size is bigger. And I'm sure when it comes to B2B, it's a game of follow-ups. How many follow-ups you take. So can you tell us what mistakes people make when they are actually taking the follow-ups with these multinational companies, and how can they avoid these mistakes, and then what are some creative ways through which they can close the clients?
Of course. So first up, I'd just like to tell everyone the fortune is in the FU. And if you think that गाड़ी निकाल रहा हूँ, गाड़ी नहीं दे रहा, FU is not what you think it is. FU is the follow-up. So follow-up is very, very essential. It's actually called the 98-2 rule of follow-up.
98-2
rule. And the 98-2 rule states this, that the first time you reach out to someone, 98% of those people will not buy from you. The first time you reach out to someone, only 2% of the people will actually buy from you.
Right.
The second time you reach out to them, another 3%. The third time, another 5%. The fourth time, another 10%. 80% of all sales will close between the 5th and the 12th follow-up, sometimes even more.
Awesome.
80%, right? The biggest mistake.
Does people have this kind of patience?
So that's the thing, the biggest mistake that people make. You spoke about mistakes, you asked about mistakes. The biggest mistake that people are making is that they're not following up. They call once, they call twice, and SME segment में बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, especially if you've got people on your team. This sir आपने lead दी थी, ma'am आपने lead दी थी, हमने phone किया, लेकिन उन्होंने बोला कि अभी उनका interest नहीं है. तो बॉस उनका इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, मतलब अभी इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, कभी ना कभी तो होगा, राइट? और अगर उनका इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, they'll be able to refer you to someone else जिसका इंटरेस्ट होगा. So the point is always know that a no is never a no in sales.
मैं आपको इसमें एक इंसिडेंट बताता हूँ. I have one student in my community. He is a manufacturer, and he attended my workshop in 2018. He attended a half-day workshop, and he said, "I want to join your training, but I'm too busy." And we had his email address, his name and contact and everything. My team kept sending him valuable emails and WhatsApp, and this year he got closed, and he appreciated to my sales team that past 4 years you guys are taking follow-ups. But with us, we did not call them, we just use the technology with email and WhatsApp. So what do you think when it comes to B2B, can we use these technologies as well to take the follow-up, or should we just call them?
Oh, 100% essential to use, technology and out-of-the-box concepts. Because if you just keep calling people, okay, or just WhatsApping people or sending, just random emails, it doesn't work, okay? And almost, I've seen people get so desperate by the end of it, they just start sending like good morning messages. And when you start getting those WhatsApps, you're like, boss, इस दिन ये बंदा मिलेगा तो पकड़ के लगाऊंगा इसको एक दो. So it just becomes very irritating basically.
आपको ये फीलिंग भी आती है कि यार इतना desperate है, आपका बिजनेस लाने के लिए, तो मतलब इसके पास clients हैं नहीं, and he or she will not be able to deliver the quality. Even that person might be good, but because of that desperation, मतलब client तो पक्का निकल गया, वो तो हाथ से निकल गया. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if they sense desperation, and it's actually called the first, law of prospecting, the more desperate you get, the worse the result.
चलो आपने laws of prospecting की बात की है, तो कितने laws हैं? और 2 laws. So guys, let's listen to the laws of prospecting, and we will ask Gaurav as well that what are the 5 to 6 innovative ideas through which you can take the follow-ups. Because like I talked about the emails and WhatsApp we sent to that student, and he joined us after 3.5 years. We kept adding the value, but I would like to know कि आप क्या क्या creative चीजें use करते हो in terms of taking the follow-ups. So let's start with the rules, the laws of
prospecting. So like I said, 2 laws of prospecting, and the first law of prospecting is this: the more desperate you get, the worse the result. Okay. Right? So when you keep following up extensively and non-innovatively, okay, what's going to happen is that they say, okay, this person is desperate, call him in, and they'll dabaw you, okay, and they'll pressurize you. And this happens a lot to, all my MSME friends who are listening into this. They say, chalo theek hai, they give an offer, and this person beats them down, and then they say, चलो उठा लेते हैं, at least खर्चे तो निकल आएंगे, लेबर का काम तो होते रहेगा.
Cash flow आते रहना.
It's the biggest mistake that they make, right? It's the biggest disservice they can do to themselves, because then they'll really struggle to raise their rates and everything else. So you can't be desperate, and the only way you will not be desperate is if your pipeline is full enough, right? I ask my SME clients and even my corporate clients, I say, what's your pipeline looking like? And they're like, so-so. Now so-so matlab band baja hua hai. Okay, now I say, tell me what is your pipeline looking like, okay? And I said, which pipeline do you have? Pipeline do type ki hoti hai. One pipeline is, let's just say you go to a petrol pump, okay, and you try and you tell the gas attendant, bike mein ya car mein petrol dal de. So wo bhi pipeline hai, right? But that pipeline is this thick. And then you have the pipeline which is okay, let's say, look at RIL, Reliance's pipeline, okay, which is bringing oil from the oil field into the refinery. Now that pipeline is that big. So आपकी pipeline कौन सी है? मतलब petrol pump वाली, PP वाली, कि RIL वाली, बड़ी वाली, right? And then how full it is, because the idea is you got to create the pipeline and then you got to blow up that pipeline. Okay, so that's very important.
So could you explain in detail what is a pipeline? I know, but my viewers would like to know what is a pipeline and sales की terms में कि what are the stages when we talk about closing a client? Like you get an inquiry or you reach out to a client, what could be those 5-6 steps? और उनमें से कुछ steps शायद recurring हो, until unless you close the client. So those 5-6 steps of, inquiry to the final check.
Yeah. So I mean, I would tell a lot of people is that it doesn't have to be complicated, right? A lot of people get too much into the technicalities of this. Now, the first thing is a pipeline is obviously got a prospect that either inquired about your business or you reached out to someone and they said, okay, let us get back to you. So now there will be different grades of, let's say warmness. There'll be someone who will be an absolutely cold lead, right? There'll be someone who will be warm, maybe referred, maybe had a query, so I'll come back to you. And there's someone who's hot, saying that, listen, it's super pressing and we need to do business.
हाँ मुझे अभी चाहिए, proposal भेजो या quotation भेजो.
So you have to also classify into cold, warm and hot. So I think that's one thing you can definitely do. The other aspect is, like I said, I don't think people should, give it, too much in terms of, thought. The idea is again to be creatively in touch. Now that's where the follow-up piece comes in. Now what would we really do when we follow up? So we actually have a 32-step follow-up process that we teach. 32 steps.
32 steps of follow-ups. Is it steps or is it ways?
In a way, it can work both ways. But the point is, not once have you actually asked for the order. Okay, and yet they will, still come back to you at some point. Like you mentioned, someone came back to you after 4 years. It was because you were creatively in touch. So that's something.
So just share at least 5 of these 32 ways.
Sure. So various things. The first thing you want to do is, as soon as you have met a customer or spoken to a customer, it could be in person, it could be on Zoom, whatever. The first thing you want to do is 5 minutes after that call is over, that meeting is over, you want to send them a message, okay, saying, thank you, it was great meeting with you. Kindly save my number and I am going to come back to you with more stuff. Because let's just say if the number wasn't saved and next time you're calling them, now there is going to be no chance that they'll even pick up the phone. Okay, they'll probably say, oh, I don't know, unknown number, my phone nahi uthata. So the first step starts 5 minutes after the call or the meeting just happened. Right, that's very, very powerful. The other one I recommend very highly is use video. Right, now a lot of people are right now sending written proposals, lambe, very extensive, PDFs and all that.
बनाया पूरे effort 1 घंटा बैठ के और client ने reply तक नहीं किया.
Exactly. So video will help you stand out.
So video में क्या होना चाहिए?
So again, it would just be something like, I'll give you an example. There was something we were pitching to Microsoft, and it was for a goal setting workshop and more, under the GBA. And the concerned person said from L&D in Singapore said that, send me your proposal. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make a video. And in that video, it was just shot in a way very natural, no fancy, equipment or anything was required. It was just like, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited to come and work with you. This is what we're going to be doing, giving them 2-3 bullet points, showing them a copy of our Scaling with GB Goal Planner, which is, a great tool.
Awesome.
And said that, looking forward to getting started. And, that was it.
And then what happened?
Maybe 90 seconds to, put together and send out to them. And it went across. And not only did we get the India mandate, but we got the APAC mandate. So we had people all the way from Australia to Singapore, Japan, even China, Thailand, and stakeholders in India. They were all on that training.
So guys, here Gaurav talked about these stages of a prospect. You get an inquiry, few could be cold, few could be warm, few could be hot, and then the cold prospect can become warm, warm can become hot as well. But then you need to be creative enough to take the follow-ups. Now, that is where, as a business owner, you need to understand the role of technology as well. Because as a business owner, it will be difficult for you to handle, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 inquiries. So that is where the role of CRM also comes into the picture. Now, you might be wondering, what is CRM? It's called Customer Relationship Management. Now, here in the screen, you can see this is our CRM dashboard, where through a Google form, you can capture the inquiry. And in a proper dashboard, you can actually see how many inquiries are at which stage. And through our dashboard, you can know how many follow-ups your each and every teammate has taken. Now here Gaurav talked about sending emails and WhatsApp as well. Through this CRM software, you will be able to send emails and WhatsApp as well. So what is your take on this, Gaurav? Technology का कितना बड़ा role है sales में?
Oh, essential, absolutely, critical. And the point is, you mentioned CRM, and most people, like you mentioned, didn't even know what a CRM stands for. In sales, if you don't have a CRM, it's one of the biggest disservices that you're actually doing to yourself, because you will try and remember things manually, okay, which you can't. You will depend on your memory, to give you alerts, which it'll probably fail you. I'm also a tiny habits coach, so I know what BJ Fogg states about the fact that how people miss out on stuff. So that's surely going to happen, because prompts sometimes are internal, prompts sometimes are external. Okay, and obviously the internal prompts don't work. So you need external prompts, and those external prompts will come from things like your CRM. So very, very essential. And without technology, you're back in the Stone Ages. I mean, today we're also where we are as an organization in both the verticals, because of the amount of technology that we use and what we use for end-to-end automation, right from the time a query comes in to the time not only the payment is received, but when were they reached out to again. So it maps it, end-to-end. And of course, a lot of your inputs have been very critical in setting up these systems as well.
Great. So Gaurav, you talked about you have got 400 B2B MNC clients. It's a huge number, and for few people it's a dream they want to achieve to that level. Now you talked about that you're able to track in the CRM that when the client is closed, when they give you the check and they start doing the business. But again, after you send them the first delivery of the products, after what time do you again reach out to them? So how do you or your team cross-sell or upsell them? And now a few people don't know what is that. So if you can explain what is upsell, what is cross-sell?
Of course. So first of all, we're always in touch. Just because someone hasn't come back to us, or has just come back to us, or even if they just finished something. So again, the first touch point would be as soon as that delivery is made, right? Maybe we knew it's for an event, or we knew it's for something, and we'd be like, I hope that worked out for you. I hope you liked, I hope your audience appreciated what you got. In the training space, I deliver a training, like you were at Rule 23, and at Rule 23, we had our group, and without selling them, we didn't upsell them anything actually. So we just said, this is what you come in for, and this is it. A lot of coaches and trainers, what they would do is perhaps offer like a mastermind. And we said, what? Every once in a while, we're just going to drop you a message saying, how things, are you on track? Is there any help that you need? Do you want to have another catch-up call? So, but then that is GB and the GBA, okay? Because, it's not our core, revenue stream. We can actually afford to do some of these things and offer these.
Consortium gifts, how do you cross-sell or upsell?
Yeah. So again, the point is that, when we have an organization that we've actually worked with, and we work with one stakeholder, like to give you an example, right now we are one of India's leading airlines, that's just become our most recent customer. Wow. Now, once that happened, then as soon as we closed that deal and things went well, we said, who else can you refer us to? Who more can you tell us within your organization? So not only did we get 5 more referrals within that organization.
Within the organization means like within the organization, different departments give you the order, or was it a different airline?
No. Okay, so that's what I was coming to. So the bonus was that we got 3 people within this particular organization, but we also got 2 international airlines, wow, okay, that also saw what we had, and all these guys did is, so they gave us, a good word. So a cross-sell obviously is an example of a cross-sell would be just this, where you're getting, other people, within the organization. You may have other products to offer to the same person within that organization. So cross-selling would also be if you have a bouquet of products, don't offer them only one, but offer them the entire bouquet. Now, an upsell would be in the space of, okay, let's look at training as well. The fact is that you get someone into a course, okay, and then you say, okay, I've got a 3-month option, I've got a 6-month option, I've got a 12-month option. So hence they're actually brought into, your ecosystem, and then they can always be upsold. In terms of what could happen in a product space, because you have many of your clients who would also be in the product space, the point is they said, we want this, and this is what we want. But once you do your fact finding and you find that this person could potentially be helped by another solution which they haven't really thought of, maybe at that point you want to say, hey, it's great, I appreciate the fact that you're asking for this, but I have something which is even better. Okay, and then you actually go ahead and you offer a solution which could be better. There is something that we talk about in sales. It's called the rule of 3, right? And the rule of 3 would be, I recommend that every person, when they go into a pitch, they should have 3 offerings. Okay, A is obviously the most premium, and which is also the most expensive. B is the intermediate one, okay, and C is the most cost-effective one. Now, the mistake that people do, okay, in sales and even when they go into pitch, is they start with option C. And when someone says महंगा है, समझ नहीं आया, then they kind of clueless कि हम क्या करें. So I always start with option B, start with the middle option. And when someone says it's too expensive,
then tell them the cost-effective option.
that's the funny part. Then that's the mistake people make. You say, okay, I understand it's expensive, I get it, but let me first show you something else that we're doing for someone else, and you show them option A. So from B, you
now
move them
the option
up to
B
A.
became affordable.
You move them from B to A, and then say, okay, then since you asked, here is option C. So you go B, A, and C. And what I tell everyone in sales is, don't exhaust your inventory. Okay? Oh, that's wrong. Don't exhaust your margin. Okay? Exhaust your inventory. So what happens is that if you're a product company, someone will say, "Chal, theek hai, tu aisa kar, 2 piece ye bhi de de, 5 piece ye bhi de de, 10 piece ye bhi de de." So you've sold 2 of A, 5 of B, 10 of C. So you've actually sold across, all 3 areas. So don't exhaust your margins, exhaust your inventory.
Very nice. I think I would like to give another example for all the audience in terms of cross-selling and upselling is this. For example, if somebody is buying this cup, right? They say, Kewal, we want to buy this cup. You can tell them, okay, you can buy the coaster as well. So if along with this, you're selling this, it's called cross-selling, right? But if you have 3 size of cups, and if somebody is going for the middle one, you can tell them, okay, pay 20 rupees more and you can go for a bigger cup as well. So that's called upselling, where you're selling the same product, but you're giving a bigger size and your margins are more because the customer requires it, so they will be going for a bigger or a better option as well. So Gaurav, can you talk about a few mistakes which you made in the initial career while you started your company? What were the mistakes you made in follow-ups or closing which you can share?
So many mistakes. I mean, in the sense that there were so many that I could actually write a book on it. I actually am writing a book. The book is called Smashed, Bashed, Yet Not Dashed.
Awesome.
But of course, tons of mistakes. And on many aspects, I mean, something like I remember in the early days, there is, people who'd come in and they gave us, a high-flying, promises, and they said, okay, here's a token advance, and on the basis of this, just go ahead and start the work. Piche se paise aa jayenge. The day the goods are to go, we'd send the goods, and they said, "Bas aa hi raha hai," and then next thing they disappeared. Oh. So, and when you're starting out, and as a 19, 20-year-old, it's a big hit. So we made those kind of mistakes. There are times where we went in
so how did
unprepared.
You correct it? How did you correct?
Well, you actually learn. I mean, I think once you're burnt on the financial side, then you're just wiser the next time around.
But then what do you do now? Like, how do you make sure that your payments are received properly on time? So
one thing is I recommend to everyone is that get yourself MSME registered, right? So once you're MSME registered, by law, you have to be paid in 45 days. And if you're not paid in 45 days, the client who you work with has to pay you interest.
Oh, is it?
So that's an MSME law, and there are so many of our MNC clients who, they'll never overshoot because 45 days are payment terms, they pay us in 30 days only now. And this is super. This is something the government has done, and hats off to the government for doing this. The fact that they've actually enacted this law, where now in your balance sheet you also have to mention how many MSME vendors have you not paid in time.
Okay.
Right? And have you paid them interest or not? So now that has to come in your balance sheet. So now we have clients calling us and saying, "Sir, paise le lo."
Paise le lo.
Right? That's just super. And and again, like I said, great that the government's actually gone ahead and done this. Also, obviously, we secure ourselves in many ways now. I see a lot of, when I say, we spoke about desperation a short while back. Now, if you have a problem of plenty, like when you have so much that, you don't really care, if 1 or 2 clients even drop off. So thankfully, we are in that situation right now. But what we don't budge on is our payment terms. So when we work with someone, we want our 50% advances, and the payment has to come, of course, if it's a large MNC, then we know that they're good for their money.
So this is a great
as long as
tip.
we have a PO.
It's a great tip that, if you're a business owner, if you're starting up, I think MSME registration is pretty easy.
Oh, very easy.
Right? You should go for it because it protects you from any kind of fraud which somebody can do by taking your product and not paying you within the 45 days. But this is the first mistake. Can you talk about 2 more mistakes which you made as a startup when you did?
Sure. I mean, tons of stuff. Even on the hiring side, we hired people without really doing our due diligence. We didn't have systems for accountability. There was one guy, he was a runner, but he was running his own side hustle. He would say, "I'm going for your work," but he was actually heading off, to do some of his own moonlighting. Right. He was saying, "Acha, agar aap Gaurav sir aapko itne mein de rahe hain, to main usse itne kam mein kar dunga." So kind of undercutting that happened. And initially it was, of course, very disturbing. And then again, that's what I said, always keep hiring. We never know what could happen and when.
So how did you get to know that he was doing it? How did you get to know?
I think what happened in this guy's case is that one of our clients sent an email which is going to another ID, it came to us by mistake. And we send them, what is this all about, you know? And then another time what happened is that one of the drivers had gone to pick up, you know, some of the stuff from, you know, this particular supplier of ours, and they saw this guy sitting there, and they're like, "तू क्या कर रहा है इधर?" नहीं, वो मेरे, you know, भाई की शादी है, तो वहाँ से मैं कुछ उठाने के लिए आया हूँ, मैं सोचा यहीं से ले लेता हूँ, and there was no भाई की शादी and everything else, and then of course one thing led to another, and we found out that they were, you know, not you know, in integrity, and there's one thing in our organizations that we don't stand for is lack of integrity. So anytime we see that someone is out of integrity, they're gone, like
But
within
then,
a few
you know,
minutes.
This kind of NDAs and agreements, do they also help या फिर उसके beyond भी कई बार आपको चीजें देखनी पड़ती हैं?
You know, the point is that they help. So I must say that yes, you should have a, you know, NDA in place. You should have a no compete in place. Like these are things that you should do, because all said and done is, I mean, जिसको करना है वो करेगा. But at least there's some amount of deterrent. Not having it at all is leaving it to chance, and that might come and bite you in the backside.
So this is the second learning which Gaurav is telling. First was payment terms, get your business registered with MSME. Second is hiring, that if you're hiring, make sure you're signing an NDA with a couple of other agreements, so that you make sure that even if somebody wants to do wrong with you, at least they are bound legally with your terms, and then, you know, you can you can make sure that, you know, that does not happen again. What is the third mistake, Gaurav?
Very interesting. And while you were talking, I just thought about it, and it happened. I clearly remember the gentleman and even the meeting. It happened in Mohan Cooperative Industrial Area. I'm not going to name the client because that client today is a very big client for us.
New Delhi.
Yes, in New Delhi. And the mistake that was made is that we did not do thorough, well, let's just say, we didn't have thorough insights about our product. The product was a New Year diary, and the gentleman, obviously procurement guy, he knew everything, and he opened the diary and he said, "Kitne GSM ka page hoga, paper hoga ye? 300 GSM." And I remember I said, "Haan, 300 GSM." Now anyone who knows anything about paper knows that, you know, the inner paper of a diary will not be more than 75, 80, 85, maybe 90 GSM. And he shut the diary and he said, "Bete, jab samajh aa jayega na ki tu kya bech raha hai aur kya hai, tab wapas aiyo." And he threw the diary on the floor and he walked away. Okay, funnily that client today is, I mean, that gentleman is no longer there. Of course, you know, thank him wherever he is. Of course, very, very long time back. And we're going back again to the early days, since you said the startup days. And the mistake that was made is that I hadn't, you know, thoroughly known my product. And I went in and I thought I'll wing it, and you can't. Okay, obviously many years later that client today is a global account for us. That gentleman is no longer there, but I learned a lesson that boss, अब जब presentation करने जाएंगे तो कुछ भी प्रश्न उठ सकता है. Anything can come up. Know your product. Don't think you can bullshit someone, because if someone on the other side knows more than you, you will not look like an expert. You look like a fool. And sales is about trust and credibility. If your credibility has gone down, okay, the sale is not coming your way.
Guys, some golden nuggets which are coming, and I'm really loving this conversation. Before I ask few more really great questions regarding team building, regarding sales, and regarding referrals, I want you to tell me in the comment box, what has been your biggest takeaway till now within this video? And if you know any friend who is struggling with sales, who want to master B2B sales, then what are you waiting for? Help them out by sharing this video with them. You can share it with your friends on WhatsApp group, on Facebook, on LinkedIn as well. Do like this video and make sure you subscribe my channel as well. The next speaker that we'll have in our podcast is somebody who is expert on networking, right? So every week we are bringing our experts who are going to help you upgrade yourself as a business owner. All right. So coming back to you, Gaurav, on hiring front. So you talked about mistakes which you make in terms of, so 3 mistakes you talked about, right? First was payment, which you do not get on time. So solution is MSME registration. Second is employee doing some fraud. So at least you should do some legal documentation so that they are afraid of doing it, and then if they do it, it's their karma and you take your own action with them. And third is that before selling, become master at your own product. So here my takeaway is this: I have a sales and marketing directory in my organization where I tell my sales team that whenever any student is asking any question, note it down in the Google sheet. And then if you're not getting the answer of it, ask me, I'll give you an answer. And the result is, till date, we have got around 150 FAQs, 150 sales objections questions which people usually ask. And I tell my team that sales का जो main role है ना, वो बस objection handling है. अगर आप objections को अच्छे से handle करोगे तो then client conversion बहुत easy हो जाता है, right? So talking to the team once again, you have a team of 15 people, right?
In sales, yes.
And I think it might be really hard for you to build this level of team, which is now doing a 60, 70 CR, and good luck to you. 2023, let's go to 100 CR as well. But how do you define the bonus structure? Tell us about it. Like, because if somebody is doing a 1 CR per month, is there some bonus you're giving to them along with salaries?
So we've actually we follow a hybrid model, and in a hybrid model, of course, there is their base salary which is there, but they're also incentivized. And what we've done is that based on the base salary that they have, we have A, B, and C. So we have 3 different slabs of people, because obviously you'll have the sales heads, the people who've been there drawing a decent amount, and their expectations are different. But we also have a very generous incentive structure, and the incentive structure is structured in a way where we have 3 slabs in that as well. One is an existing client, a client that they just maybe taking over to service. Second is a client that's converted based on a lead that came from us, basically our marketing initiatives and everything else. And the third and the most generous structure is a lead, or a contact that they created with their own efforts, that they went out and they actually did that. So hence what happens is that they're always, salespeople can get comfortable saying that, okay, I already have X number of clients. Okay, I already have X number of things that have been handed to me by the customer, by the company. But we want to incentivize them to go out and get more with their own efforts.
Right. Awesome.
So we do that as well. And then of course we have slabs, and normally what I've seen is a lot of companies, what they do is that the higher the slab, the lower the incentive. Right, the higher the quantum sold. So for us, it's the other way. We like, agar aap 1 crore ka maal bechoge, so your structure is such that you actually get even a higher incentive. And today our sales team, and they, like I said, great bunch of guys and girls. They've been able to buy their own homes. They've been able to buy their own cars.
Wow.
They've been able to now even set up businesses, for their fathers and their uncles, which are being run. So yeah, it's amazing, the kind of value they've created. And it's only the start. I mean, at an organizational level, we're seeing each and every employee, team member of consortium will have not only their own home and their own car or vehicle, but they'll also have shareholding in the organization.
Gaurav, would you accept कि कोई भी एक नया टीममेट आता है तो वो फर्स्ट मंथ या सेकंड या थर्ड मंथ पे रॉकस्टार नहीं बन जाता? It takes time, right?
Oh, 100%.
But if somebody joins you or any other company like B2B, any for manufacturers or trader student, कई लोग ऐसे होते हैं जिनकी एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत ज़्यादा होती है अपनी सेल्स टीम से कि भाई हम तो इन्हें सैलरी दे रहे हैं, ये आएंगे और कुछ मैजिक कार्ड प्ले करेंगे और सेल्स आ जाएगी. सो आपका उन बिजनेस ओनर्स के लिए क्या मैसेज है? Second question within this is, if somebody joins you and you know that the guy is good, but if the person is not able to get results, how do you keep them motivated?
Surely. So first question first, the point is that you have to be patient. Right? You have to understand that not everyone is going to come in and straight away start hitting chokkas and chakkas, on the first over itself.
But time to hona chahiye,
right? There has to be a time. And I think when you are setting expectations, the expectation setting has to be done at the time of hiring itself. Okay. Where you have to tell them that this is my expectation, are you on board or not? Now sometimes people might be desperate and they might say yes, but you also have to understand and discount that. And the point is that when you're bringing these people on, you have to know that, okay, for the first 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, there's going to be nothing. My top sales guy right now probably hadn't delivered for almost 12 to 13 months, but he was hungry. He was in action. He was going out there and he was making those meetings. And he was saying,
you had the patience. You had the patience to retain them. Guys, this is a great message. As a business owner, if Gaurav can invest in an employee and he can retain him for 1 year when he did not deliver any sales, now that guy is the highest sales executive. What could be better learning than this? But then how did he get motivated? How do you motivate your employees?
He stayed in action. That was very, very important. See, recently we had to let someone go who had only been in the organization for 6 months. And the reason why we let him go is the fact that he was not complying with anything. Okay, there were no reports coming, there were no meeting minutes coming, there was no transactions happening, there were escalations coming. He wasn't even bothering to understand the product. Right? Now when people are doing things like that, all of these are red flags. When people aren't stepping up, when people aren't, interacting with others in the organization, now you know it's a red flag. So your question was, what do you do when someone is not performing? Right. So obviously, I mean, as a coach, trainer, consultant, the first thing would be to come in and help. Right? In my DISC score, I'm a high D, but I'm also a high S. Right? A high D is someone who's a go-getter who closes stuff. Okay, that's great. But I'm also a high S, which means I can also be very supportive. Right? So if you're on my good side, and of course, a lot of people within the organization, I would nurture them and I'd say that you have to be clones of me. Okay, in terms of how the selling piece and all of that goes. So hence, I think it's very, very important to handhold. Okay, but if you see on the other side the person isn't reciprocating, or if the person doesn't give a damn, now you have to have a hard conversation. Right. So I always say that sometimes a reboot is necessary and sometimes a boot is necessary, right? Like you got to give them the boot as well. So awesome. You will know how it really works, and you should know that you will not expect a quick win. Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay,
I mean B2B is not about speed, it's about nurturing, building the relation, because eventually when you acquire a client, that person can give you a lot of business, and then that company can give you many referrals as well. So that brings me to another question. Can you share a few tips on how to generate referrals in B2B business? Because many companies do not want to refer because they may feel, okay, ये तो हमारे competition का हम referral क्यों दें? क्या tips हैं आपके इसमें?
So, of course, when we first met, we met at a referral organization such as BNI. Yeah. And BNI is very powerful, when it comes to generating, business and business opportunities. But there are also other organizations that have come in. You have something like EO, which is great. Vern Harnish had started EO and EO was doing great. There is also organizations like Corporate Connections, which is there. There's YPO, which is the Young Presidents Organization, also very powerful. So you have a lot of these organizations that obviously are one set of places to get referrals. The second thing is, I always say, be a member of associations, okay? And by this I mean, CII, FICCI, maybe even in your association, like Consortium Gifts is a part of IGC. Okay, IGC is a global gifting organization which chooses one member per country. ठीक है, मतलब दिक्कत थी घुसने में, लेकिन घुसे, ठीक है? And today I'm actually on the board of IGC, right? And from saying that, okay, is India good enough, to now being on a board of $1 billion organization is a really big deal. So step up and take roles. Okay, so once you're in these associations, कुछ भी बनो, treasurer बनो, member बनो, secretary बनो, like कुछ भी है, do take roles like we see in our organizations as well. I think that really helps. And then obviously ask for referrals
from the clients.
So yeah, so ask everyone. Now I think the biggest mistake that people make is they don't ask. So obviously ask from your existing customers, ask from happy customers, right? That really works. If someone says, great job, I loved what you did. Now this is a great time to go out there and say, is there anyone else in your network who you think might be someone we could do business with? Okay, it's like, think about it, when we were children and we wanted a sweet or a candy from our parents, when would we ask them? When they're happy or when they're angry? Obviously when they're angry, you say, lollipop de do, thappad mein lagayega.
बिल्कुल सही बात.
But if they're happy and in a good mood, say, hey, you're such a good mood, can I get a piece of candy? And they would probably give you that.
मैं इनफैक्ट ये टिप देता हूँ अपने स्टूडेंट्स को भी कि रेफरल तब मांगो जब आप पहले फीडबैक ले रहे हो. So I tell my students कि whenever you're delivering a product or service, either B2B or B2C, send a feedback email, attach a Google form, ask 2-3 feedback questions, और नीचे एक question लिख दो कि if you are loving your service, can you refer us to 3 people? And if they fill the name and contact numbers, your teammate or you can call them and take the details, and then you can kind of connect with them. And one thing which I have learned in my experience, Gaurav, when it comes to referrals is, people give referrals, but what is the mistake which people make, which you will also agree is, जिसने referral दिया है उसको कुछ update नहीं देते हैं वो कि उससे बात हुई या नहीं हुई. और मैंने एक चीज़ देखी है कि अगर आपको किसी ने referral दिया है और अगर वो close हो जाता है, अगर वो client बन जाता है, you need to send a thank you note to the person who actually gave you the referral.
Very powerful. Right. So communication is key. It has to be both ways. Yeah. If it has converted, then obviously go ahead and reciprocate by giving something back. And if it hasn't converted, have a conversation. Say you referred, but it's not moved forward. Is there something lacking at my end, or is something that I've not been able to communicate? So communication is definitely key.
अच्छा, आपका मैसेज उन लोगों के लिए क्या रहेगा जो कहते हैं कि भैया हमसे बेटर कोई सेल नहीं कर सकता ज़्यादा, and nobody can sell better than us. We as a business owner know our product. We are the ones. अगर हम किसी को hire करेंगे, that person might become our competition in the future, and our clients always need us, right? So how did you come out of that zone and actually build a team and hire 400 clients?
So I think if someone says that there is no one better than me, okay, I said, is your company the market leader in its space? Are you absolutely crushing it? Are you dominating it? Do you have so much work that you've set up multiple factories and you're still not being able to cater to it? Are you like today competing with the Reliances and the Adanis? If you are, I'm saying, dude, awesome. Okay, if you're not, there's work to be done. Okay, if you aren't even doing like a 10-figure number, or haven't even got to a few crores in business, and you still are uncertain about what the future holds for you, you're fooling yourself, right? It's time that you wake up and smell the coffee. It's time that you wake up and bring people onto your team. It's time that you start thinking scale. Because if you aren't, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you have a great product or service and you're not selling it out and putting it out to enough people in the world, you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing your potential client a disservice, you're doing the economy of the country a disservice, and you're doing the world in whole a disservice. So I think people are fooling themselves, if they think there can be no one better. I think that there's a little bit of delusional, aspect that's come in over there. And I think once you bring on people onto your team and you see what they can start doing, okay, you can focus on bigger, better things. You can focus on strategy. You can focus on maybe even some of the fun things in life. Maybe even, giving back. The GBA is a give back. Yeah. Right, consortium is already crushing it. The GBA is now give back, but I say, okay, based on what I learned from Grant and BJ Fogg and Taki and Richard and all my experiences, it is now time for me to go back and empower the SME entrepreneur, or even the large business.
So I can recall, it has been 4 years, or 3.5, 4 years. I have not made a single sales call. My team does everything. So what about you? When was the last time you made a call, sales call?
Like earlier today. The point is for me, okay, I'm a sales guy at heart. You're a technocrat at heart, right? You do technology and that's your call.
I am good at automation, you are guru of sales.
So for me, if I'm not out there, at least, having conversations, maybe at least 2 or 3 a week, okay, it'll be very depressing.
You have a sales team and then still you are doing sales?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, you can never take the salesperson out of a salesperson, right? So you can't take sales out of a salesperson. Awesome. And hence the point is, okay, now, like for me, now where is my prospecting happening? So next week I'm off to Vegas and I'm going to be attending the largest, one of the largest fairs in the world. It's PPAI in Vegas, and I'll be spending 3 full days, and each and every minute of those 3 full days has already been mapped out. Right from, starting out with breakfast with the client, then meeting up with 3 other clients, having lunch with another client, a couple of other things, playing poker with the client, playing golf with the client, going to a show with the client, but everything is sorted for those 3 days. So for me, there's a lot of, big ticket, things happening. It's not like about picking up the phone and making calls, but I'm always selling, and no one can actually ever stop selling. So if, like I said, it's, the second law of prospecting, which you didn't get a chance to talk about. And the point is that if you ever stop prospecting, even for a day, what's going to happen is that 45 to 60 days down the line, you'll find that your sales pipeline is now like a roller coaster, like sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes up, sometimes down, happens to many. And the reason why it goes down is because you stop prospecting. So you can never ever stop prospecting.
So when it comes to prospecting, do you recommend some tools that people can use?
So everything. So prospecting is, even putting out content on, email. Me being on your show today is prospecting, because now there are many of your listeners who did not know who Gaurav Bhagat is, but now once they see the show, they'll actually, Google it, and they'll, look for my YouTube channels and all of that. So this for me is a prospecting activity. So the fact that I'm here right now, okay, we're having a conversation, we're giving back, but it's also selling. So hence,
Guys, Gaurav is the sales guru. So you can follow him on YouTube, you can follow him on Instagram, LinkedIn, and he has been somebody who, I get really inspired from. And if you're somebody who's struggling with sales, Gaurav is the guy, he's the go-to guy. So Gaurav, last couple of questions, and then we are wrapping up this interview. I know you guys are desperate to know more knowledge from Gaurav, but before I ask you last questions, tell me guys, what was your biggest takeaway till now from this video? And feel free if you want to ask more questions from Gaurav. And if we are able to collect 10 new questions, I will request Gaurav to once again come up on the podcast in the future. Right? So last couple of questions are, we are in year 2023. I have created like 50 goals for my organization. I'm going to focus on manufacturers, traders, service providers, focus on automation solutions, helping them, building my team, etc. What are your top 3 goals for next year, for this year?
So of course, as you know, goals has been something that's very big for me. I have the Scaling with GB Goal Planner, which is, a planner that, we've had driving our ecosystem for the longest time. So if I was to choose, so normally we have goals in 4 durations: short term, medium term, long term, and legacy. And we also have goals in 6 areas. So if you put me on the spot and say, give me your top 3. So a work goal will definitely be there. So to get to the 100 crore mark for consortium and the 5 crore mark for GBA. So these are the 2 goals, for the 2 organizations on the work side of things. I think another goal that I've had, which I've now been working on the health side, is that I intend to get to an ideal weight of 77 kilos. Okay, so that's been blown out of the water, but thanks to a recent conversation that I had with one of my students and the program that I'm now on, I've dropped 4 kilos in the course of the last 3 weeks. So that's on track. So the health goal is there, because health is wealth. If health is lost, everything is lost, right? And if I was to choose the third of those the goals that really come to mind, I would choose something on the side of, I think it would be on, okay, now I'm just thinking about the 12 that I have in my mind. I'm just trying to see which would be the most impactful one.
So while you are thinking, guys, he has got 6 categories of goals. So let me just name few of them. It is health, finance, business, it could be around your team, it could be around your customers. So
Yeah, so of course there's the mental goal. So you're right, there's 6 areas. So there's obviously work, there's finance, there's health, there's mental, there's lifestyle, something that you might want to buy or a holiday you might want to take, and there's family and relationships. So I would say if I was to choose the third one, it's actually in the area of the relationships piece. And what I'd like to do is take out at least an hour a day, which I can spend with my family, distraction, gadget free, which is really hard for me, but at least do an hour a day starting the 1st of Jan. So
last question, any couple of books which you can recommend to viewers?
So many, I mean, like I said, I have such a large list, but what I'd recommend is that definitely look at the 10x rule, right? You see the 10x here, and 10x is Grant Cardone. So the 10x mindset is super. So I recommend that. I also recommend Tiny Habits. So Tiny Habits from BJ Fogg. Everyone knows Atomic Habits and James Clear, but Atomic Habits is actually kind of picked from Tiny Habits. BJ Fogg has been teaching the course in Stanford for 23 years, and hopefully I'll be meeting him in Stanford when I'm in the US as well. But Tiny Habits is super. So Tiny Habits, 10x rule, and if there was to be one more that I would pick, I would probably choose The Power of Broke. The Power of Broke is Damon John. Damon John is from Shark Tank. And he was, again, one point, a struggling waiter in a restaurant, right? In a fish, seafood restaurant. And then he got this idea of FUBU, and used to go and sell, caps and sweatshirts and hoodies and apparel from the back of his, pickup car. And that's how he started FUBU. And FUBU today is a $1 billion business, and Damon John is a Shark Tank. So I think जो SME entrepreneur जो struggle करता है, उसको समझ नहीं आता कि पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, resources कहाँ से आएंगे. I think Power of Broke आप पढ़ो तो अच्छा ही रहेगा आपके लिए.
My recommendation for you guys to read this year are 2 books. One is called E-Myth. It's written by Michael E. Gerber, who tells you that if your business is dependent on you, you are not a business owner. He says your business should be dependent on systems. Then only you can scale your business. Second book is The Goal, okay, written by Ali Goldratt, where he says the biggest bottleneck in your business is you yourself. So, you get involved in every activity, and because of which you become busy in just managerial and clerical activities, and you forget to do real growth stuff. With that, let's wrap up the interview. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for coming up, and I'm blown away with the kind of knowledge you give to the viewers. Guys, we deserve one comment in the comment box. Tell us what was the biggest takeaway you got from Gaurav, and do follow him on social media, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram as well. And if you want to master sales, go ahead on his website, and you can check out the upcoming workshops which he's doing. Yeah, so
Thank you so much, Kewal, and like I said, it's been a pleasure. Selling today is not about receiving, selling is about giving. And I hope what I've been able to give to the viewers and listeners in terms of some of the insights, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, are things that help you out. So thank you once again for having me here. It has been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you.